Hello, I hope you like my new office. It's really nice, and I'm not in the void anymore, but I don't really know where my desk is. I just moved here, as you can tell by all the boxes in that corner. But there's been a lot of good things on the TV, even though the TV's messed up, and I can only hear it. But it's something about display entities. But, I mean, if you really use your imagination, you can probably see between the green and blue lines what it is. Hello everyone, I am on the pond. The pond is ran by the loosest of gooses. I'll put his channel in the description if you want to check out his stuff. He does so much better content than I do. I'm, of course, getting into making content, but aside from that, I wanted to talk about displays. The displays are through the mod Axiom. Axiom is basically just an amazing mod that you can do a lot with. um People like Stan616, who made basically almost I think a 1-to-1 scale of um one of the things from Attack on Titan. He's currently doing a project of the Death Star, but all right, I'm gonna get past that. I just wanted to kind of give like a little small tutorial on how to actually use displays. And through here, I'm just showing like a couple of little things, and then right here, I'm just showing like the blocks I've made it with. Um, they're really simple, and even things like this little axis kind of rotation that is like the center point of it on, I'm still learning myself. So there's a lot that I haven't fully learned about displays myself, but I still just wanted to teach y'all and basically just show y'all everything that I have learned so far. And I will probably make another video about it on things like I've learned in the future, stuff like that, that I've gotten better. But like just simple little things like you can make just build so much more detailed. Now, of course it is a mod, so if you wanted to do this in survival, you can't use the display mods in survival. It's only a creative only, but that still doesn't limit the possibilities that you can do with it. Now, there are a little couple downsides to it. Like you're basically able to walk through them, stuff like that. They're not solid blocks, but and here's still some of the things, like even the plants. I'll show you about the flower pots and stuff like that in a little bit. But like on this couch, I put a slab inside of it because the slab would be covered up, so it would still look like you're sitting down. Or even with this little countertop, for let's just say you want to do a kitchen. If you wanted it solid, you could just get like a normal, and you know it's going to be like a normal block. You could just get a normal dark oak, like let's just do a dark oak plank, all right? And then you decorate it, and then let me show you because whenever you, so real quick, I guess I could just kind of start with a little tutorial real quick. If you wanted to see like how to be able to um, move the displays, you hold left alt, you press the little, you hold it, keep holding it by the way. You press the little toolbox, and then right here where it says show display entity gizmos. You turn that on. It's usually automatically on, but then you're able to see these little white dots, which is how you're able to move it and transform it. So you're able to move it like this, and if you move it into a spot to where you don't like it, and you just moved it and you didn't max it out of it, you can just Control Z it, and it goes back to what it was. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But near the end of the video, I will show basically like a small little tutorial. You can follow me along and show you how to make like a little wall lamp and then also a little floor lamp. What is a display entity? Alright, a display entity is basically an entity that is taking form of a block or an item that you're able to transform into basically anything you like. So, how do you create a display entity? How you create one is whenever you have the Axiom mod downloaded, you hold left alt and you see this menu. Now, like I showed you with how to see the gizmos by clicking the toolbox, and it's the second one that says show display entities, you go to the very top tab that says create display entity. You click it, And then now you're able to let go of the left alt. Now you're going to see three tabs. There's going to be the item display, the block display, and the text display. The text display, we'll get to in a little bit. But first, right now, we are just going to talk about the item display and the block display. Item displays are basically what you see whenever you're holding something in your hand. So like you're able to put in axes, you're able to use axes, swords, fireworks, eyes of Ender, kind of really anything when it's not placed. All right. Now, let's talk about the block display. It's basically every item in its placed form. All right. So you're able to do like the lever or the piston head if you want that for some reason. I guess you could do that for tables without having the bottom part of the piston. You can do fire, you can do resin clumps, kind of really anything you'd like. Even in portals, you can do nether portals, you can in gateway. What's the difference? I don't know the difference between an in portal and an in gateway is. Oh, the in gateway is the little block. All right, we don't care about that right now. I mean, you can use that for. It's not even showing anything. So, all right. So I'm gonna place a item display. Let's just do a normal iron axe and a log. Kind of what you would see. Let's just say at a lumber, like a little cabin. All right. So we get our block. And you see this little white dot. You can either right click it, or you can either left click it or right click it. Left clicking it basically just makes it to where you see these little axes, all right? And whenever you right click it, you see this little menu. We'll talk about this menu in a little bit. I'll tell you basically everything this does, or basically all that I can tell you about because I'm still learning myself. And I just want to teach y'all the amazing things about display and threes. Alright, so if you just want to move it kind of anywhere you want, or like move it like, alright, you have the little white cube and the axes. You hold left click on it, you're able to move it wherever you want. You can scroll outwards with your scroll wheel and basically bring it in towards you, or you can bring it in closer by coming in on the scroll wheel. Alright, that's pretty simple. So, now what you do is whenever you see the green arrow, it goes up and down the y-axis. Same with the green circle. It goes around the y-axis. Alright, now kind of the same goes for the blue and the red. The red does the x-axis, and the red circle does the x-axis, and the red line does the goes just along the x-axis. And then the same for the blue arrow, goes along the z-axis. And then the blue circle goes around the z-axis. Now, what does the little blue and red green squares do? The blue square goes up and down the y-axis, but also along the x-axis. Now, it's kind of strange because why wouldn't the red square go along with the red line? Because it'd be going along the x-axis. That's just because of the blue circle. That's all I can tell you. It goes up and down on the y-axis, but along the x-axis. Doesn't go along the z-axis. Doesn't make any sense. Because it's blue. The blue goes along the z-axis. But the blue square doesn't. It don't make any sense. Just go along with it. Now, the red one kind of does the same thing. Goes along the z-axis and goes up and down the y-axis. And then the green square goes along both the x and z-axis. So, let's just say we want our little wood in the X. Bam. We're done. Ta-da. Alright, end of the video. Bye, y'all. Nah, I'm just joking. But basically, that's as simple as it is. And then along with the blue square, makes it bigger along the width. And then the green square basically makes it elongated on the height. Then the red square makes it elongated on the length. Yeah, the width, the height, and then length. My brain is not braining right now, so yeah. All right, now I'll show you an example. Uh, the difference between an item display and a block display. An item display, when you place it, you see what you see in your hand. I basically explained that with the axe. So, but with the block display, you come over here, and let's just say you want the same spruce fence, but you get all these confusing settings. Well, they shouldn't be confusing, because it's like if you're going to use a debug stick. You want something to face east and north? Well, whenever you place it, you can. Now it's going east, and now it's going north. Alright, now you right click it, so you can just go straight to the edit properties of it. And then you're like, alright, what if I want it going east, north, and south? Well, now it's going east, north, and south. It's pretty simple. And then you're still able to transform it to however you like. You're able to elongate it. You're able to make it taller. You're able to make it taller. You're able to make it wider. Kind of basically the same exact things we were just talking about. Sorry about that, I accidentally just clicked R. But, so, other things you can do. I've never done anything with the water, so it probably would confuse me as well. Like, see, no water showing up for some reason. I don't know why. When I figure this out, I'll just make another video about it, and then basically explain everything about what I've learned. But right here, for some reason, the water displays aren't showing, but that's fine right now. If you really want water, I guess you could, I guess it would be useful for fish tanks and stuff like that, but at the current moment, I, as you can just seen, I placed it, but don't let that discourage you. Alright, now for the text displays. This is basically like if you were looking above a player's head and you've seen their name tag. That's basically all that is, but you're able to now do the text on here. Let's just do, let's do that. Mr. Pumpkin guy. My username. Alright, now you can have default background on. And then you can make the alignment center. You can make it left, right. But right now we're gonna keep it center. So now it's center down. Now you edit it. And you do the alignment. The alignment. Oh, I'm dumb. It's basically where it's just centered onto. But if you want to go to additional settings, you can go to the background. You're able to additional settings. You're able to have billboard. It's basically the axes it's rotated on. All right. So let's just say we want it centered axes. Now it follows wherever you look. Even though it's kind of a little strange, like if you look left and right, you can see it moves. It's basically how this eye works. The eye, each block of it is kind of centered on its own axis. But, I mean, that is a little confusing to some people, but don't let it discourage you on getting creative with anything. So, you can also, the edit transformations is basically just kind of what we were doing with the blocks. Like you're able to expand it in the height and width. You can't really do that with the name tags. You're able to make it taller and stuff like that. But you can't really make it like, it's a little strange. It is a little wonky, but it's kind of funny. Alright. So, let me just show what it does on just a normal block. So, edit transformations. You're able to just change where the location is. You're able to change the rotation, kind of get more preciseness than if you wanted to just do this. You can get so much more precise with it. Let me also fix that. Sorry about that. Alright, now let's get into the other settings. Resetting the scale. It basically resets the size. You're also able to copy the coordinates of the block. So if you wanted the block or another block to be there, you're able to do that. Copy the transformation code, which basically would be, the transformation code would be this. Like, let's just say that's transformed into its own little thing by the 1.188, stuff like that. There's a lot of numbers. It basically copies into transformation that you can put onto other blocks. Kind of the same thing for the copy summon command. You're able to just copy the summon. Alright? But instead of being able to do that, I want to teach you just a way to copy and paste these entities like so much better. Let's just say I really, really like this stone wall. This little stone brick. Not a brick. It's not a brick. Let's just think this is a wall. Alright? Very tall wall, and I love this wall. We love this very, very nice wall. All you have to do is on your mouse, click down on the scroll wheel. Now, we can have this beautiful wall wherever you want. Alright? And then if, let's just say, because I copied it this way, if I want it facing this way, I look this way, and then I place it. If I wanted it the other way, then I look that way, and I place it. Now, you can't do it on kind of like diagonals, but that's fine. Let me get rid of these real quick. You can also click the delete button. Like you click on it and then you press delete. You can click on it and press backspace and it deletes it. Or you can press the right click and just remove. Whatever you find suitable, you can do that. Let me get rid of all of these real quick because we don't want this in the way. Now, one thing I do have to warn is for displays, if you have a lot of them in one small area, like this will be fine. But if you literally have, like, if you've seen in the intro, basically everything in there were a bunch of displays. Now, whenever I first loaded into the area, it gets a little bit laggy for a tad bit, but then it kind of calms back down. So, I am just warning, don't use too many display entries in one small area. Now, let's just say I wanted to make like an apartment building, and I wanted those display entries, and I wanted like a little office with some like a living room and all that stuff. It shouldn't be bad at all as long as you watch what you're doing. Because I mean, if you want to get creative, get creative. But I'm just saying you don't want to put like let me find one of these that has like a bunch of displays in it. Let's just say this billboard. I don't think you want like a bunch of these billboards everywhere around a building. And if you put like this everywhere around a building, because whenever you look, that's one display entity. That's one, that's one. Like kind of all these is just one. Alright? It's just these blocks but transformed into that. So it's you don't want to use too many because then it'll get laggy. Alright, but I'm sorry I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. So let's look back into the display entities. Back into the block display. Let me move it over here. Now, whenever you look over here, you're going to see things like duplicate. It's kind of as simple as you think. It's just duplicating it. Alright. Now, let's just say I I like this. I like this shape a lot. Just reminds me of one big stair. Alright, now let's just make this stair just a little bit wider. And let's just say no, you know what? We like we like this. We like this right here. Let's just say it's a corner of a roof. A very big roof, but still. And you want to move this corner, but you don't want to basically transform it all somewhere else, doing it by hand every time. You go into grouping. You click grouping, and there's going to be a little range that goes from 0 to 16. Alright, now because these blocks are kind of like on 1 block to 2 block radius, we're going to put it on 2 blocks. Alright, we're going to group with nearby and range. Now, you're able to basically move. Now, you're able to duplicate this and you're able to move it wherever you want. Or you can click on the the scroll wheel button, and you're able to basically do whatever you want with this, which is nice. Everyone likes that. So that's how if you wanted like a bunch of these little meat tentacle thingies, you wanted these everywhere. You can place them everywhere. If you wanted the chairs, you can grab the chair and just place it anywhere you like. Even if you like a bunch of gooses. You want a goose, you can have a goose. You get a goose, you place a goose. Alright? Now, which is, I mean, it's pretty simple. Sorry about that flashing, by the way. I accidentally had held E. Alright, now the next thing. Under this, you can have additional information. These the override brightness thing. I'll explain what that does real quick. Let's just say you see this little white cube. Whenever you go down too much, and then that little white cube goes inside of a block, it makes it. Sorry about that, Z. And that is let me talk about this real quick. So, whenever you see this white cube, it it's gonna make the block look very dark. What you do, go into edit properties and additional settings, right? Now you override the brightness and you bring this up to basically brighter. Now the block is back to its normal brightness, but you're able to kind of put it anywhere you want without having to worry about how it looks, about it being too dark or the shadows being overrid. Alright? So now let's talk about the Z fighting. Z fighting is basically just when two little textures of a block. This is basically in any game that you'll ever see. It's basically when two textures are on the same layer, but the game doesn't know which one to put first. So you see this flashing, and you can see the textures of both. Basically, be able to fix that. Um, you can either just bring it out a little bit, all right, and then it's like bam. It's even though it's a bit out forwards, it doesn't do the Z fighting anymore. Well, Pumpkin, how do you want to make precise movements? Alright, I'll show you how to do that. For precise movements, you hold click on the arrow and you press shift. You hold shift, not press it. You hold shift and then you can slowly move it. So now, whenever you hold it, like you want to move it and then you hold shift, you're able to get nice precise movements. So now, there's no more Z fighting. And then from far away, you have your nice little, I don't know what you want this to be, but still, you can do whatever you want with it. All right. Now, let's just say you want a block that looks like a slab. All right, and let me find a block that we don't have a slab form for. And you know what? Let's do sea lanterns. Let's do sea lanterns. So we're gonna now for normal blocks like oak wood, stuff like that, like full blocks or stairs, you're able to do item displays to make it a lot simpler, or you could still just do the block displays if you want to be better, not better at it, but better understanding and you don't want to get confused. So that's what I'm gonna be using. Let's just say I wanted a sea lantern slab. Alright, well, since it's like, well, you can't have a sea lantern slab, but you can. Alright, now all you gotta do is kind of put it over the block, you bring it down, and you don't really need precise movements for it because it's gonna be the slab, and there's gonna be a bunch of Z fighting. But don't worry about that. You do what I taught you a while ago. You hold, but this time it's gonna be on the transformation of the block. You hold down, left click, and then you hold shift. And now you barely bring it out just a tad bit. Now, by the way, whenever you basically do the transformations, it does the other side of it as well. Like if you can see that left side, it does that as well. So, for right now, I'm gonna do that small little bit, and then we're gonna come over here. We're gonna do this small little bit, and we're gonna come over here. We're gonna do that small little bit. So now we have a sea lantern slab. And now, if you want to be better at not better at it, but if you want it to sound right, because every block, whenever you walk on it, as you can listen, it basically it has its own distinct noise. Well, whenever you walk on this, you don't want it to sound like wood, so you can kind of put whatever you want on it. Let's just say we want it to sound like stone, and there's a stone slab. Well, now it's gonna sound like stone whenever you walk on it. But still, you can also use this for kind of whatever you want, just to make it just feel better. Now, something really cool you can do, something that Minecraft and Mojang needs to do so badly, I really wish they would do. You you might not be you'll be able to still walk through it, but you're able to make vertical slabs. Isn't this great, y'all? You're able to have a vertical slab and it is beautiful. Now you're able to walk through it, but we don't talk about that. You can still, oh, sorry about that. You can still have vertical slabs, and that's just nice. Like you wanna make a little staircase, like a really long staircase, or just like a weird looking slope. You're able to do that. So it's like, well, bam. We got ourselves a nice little, very sharp slope. Don't ask me what angle that is. I have no clue. I was never good at geometry. Alright. And I also don't even think that is geometry, but shh. I know what I'm talking about. Definitely know what I'm talking about. But so far, alright. But so far, that's basically almost everything about displays that you can that there really is to talk about. Now, you can still do like under item displays. Uh, there's still all these settings. I mean, there's not really anything to talk about. Um, I don't really know what gizmo mode does, so I do apologize about that. It hasn't really came in handy for a lot of things. And then I've already told you about the transformation does. And then I've told you about the edit properties, the grouping, the remove, all of that. I've told you about all that. Now, for underneath additional settings, I've done told you about like I told you about how the center does. Now for the vertical, it basically does the same as center, but let me fix that. It does the same as the center, but it just goes around the y-axis, kind of spinning like a turret. All right, now you can have it horizontal. So now it goes up and down. All right. And then you're able to, oh, wrong button. Whoopsie. Then you're able to have the center, but that's fine. Um, so then, now it's just on a center. Under more additional settings, there you're able to see the shadow strength and then the view range. The shadow strength, I don't really know what the shadow strength does. I think you have to overwrite the brightness to be able to do that. Yeah, you have to override to be able to get the like if you want your block to be very dark, you go underneath additional settings. You've basically just watched me do this. You're able to go override brightness. Let me fix that real quick. Sorry about that. You override the brightness, and then you go down here and just basically make your shadow strength to max if you want it really dark. And then the view range basically makes it to where you're able to see it from farther. So far, that is everything about display entities that I can think of at the current moment. Now, if you have any questions, or if you basically have anything to share that I haven't talked about in this video, I will leave my Discord in the comment section and the description below. So you're able to add me and basically tell me what I've missed and basically all that. The text display, I never really got into, so I don't know a lot about it. And I will make a second video about display entities if y'all want one. Basically talking more about the things that I've missed and things like that. But right now, we are going to do a little project that I told you about. It's not really a project, but still, it's it's like a little follow along. There was one little thing that I missed. It was that. All right, so I'll give you all a second to. You can pause the video. Grab these blocks. Don't make them this small. The 500 by like the half the size. This is just to make it smaller so it's not as bulky around this area. Because I mean, if it was, then there'd be a lot of those blocks and it'd just be look weird. So far what we have is we have a display entity of a block display of a normal spruce fence. No, no transformations done to it, like no northeast, south, or west. A yellow frog light. Don't ask me what kind of frog light it is. I can actually tell you. Hold on. It is the yellow one, but it's the... I don't know how to say that. I'm not gonna even try it. Alright, then you want a quartz pillar, and then you want a chiseled... I'm pretty sure this is chiseled blackstone. Let me make sure. Chiseled, polished blackstone. Alright, so we got our chiseled, polished blackstone. You want to grab that first, and you want to come up to your wall. Now you can just literally just put it in the wall if you want. You can, I done taught you about how to do the shadow transformations, but we're not going to do that right now. So, you want to bring the x-axis down to about like, it really kind of like 125. Now, once you go past 125, or sorry, 0.63, it wants to basically just go onto 0 and kind of make it like a piece of paper. So if you want to make it smaller, you do the precise movements and you hold shift and you kind of make it as small as you like. But right now we're just going to put it on 0.63. And then for the width and the height, you want to bring it to 313 each. So it should look like this. Now, you put it on the wall. Okay. Now, one thing about it, and I'll show you real quick about how I did it on the goose. Whenever it comes down, the reason why the goose looks a little strange right here, let me ungroup it for you and let you see. Also, how you ungroup things. You go into the grouping and it's just right there on group children. This is why the goose looks a little strange. There's a lot of display entities in this. It's to try and make it like as precise as I can. So it gets a little confusing and sometimes a little just daunting, but you don't want it to be daunting. I accidentally just grabbed those with the group, but that's okay. Alright, now let's come back over here. So we got our transformation, and I'll show you the edit transformations. It's going to be 0.063, 0.313, and then 0.313. The 0.63 is just basically kind of the width. We're going to call this the width right now of how it looks. Whenever you put it on the wall, it doesn't turn all shadowy and just turn it like even darker. So, then what you want to get next is you want to get your fence post. Alright, so we're going to shrink this down to about, let me get the right size. You want to shrink it down to about 0.250 for the X and Z axis. And then about, let's do 0.250 for the all arounds. 0.250. But this time, for the Z axis, you want to turn it to, depending on where you're at, like on the angle you're facing, it could also be your, x-axis. So just either way, whatever wall you're facing, you want it like facing outwards, like this, but at a 45-degree angle. So you bring it in, and you want to kind of get it even onto like the little bit of the snout. Let me also move this real quick, so it's kind of all even. You kind of want the fence post going between the two parts of the snout of the chisel brick, and then you put it into the wall. Alright? Now you should have this little thing that looks like a lever. So what you can do is you right-click the fence post, you just duplicate it. Because we're basically going to keep the 0.25, and then what you do is you bring it at about a 140-degree angle. Not really a 140. Hmm, let's do 145. And you bring it into there. Now, there's going to be the Z fighting. Alright? Now, you don't worry about that. Actually, let's fix this real quick. Let me get precise on that. You can do things like this if you want to make it easier on you. Now you might see the little block right there. Let me zoom in so you can see. You might see that it's not going along with that. So what we're gonna do is we're going to kind of move it so it's going to bring it to like 135. That seems like it might work. Yeah, 135. So now it's goes along with that line. So this, let me go back. The one that's connecting to the wall, the fence post that's connecting to the wall, you want it to be at a 45-degree angle, and then you want the other one to be facing on a 135-degree angle. So it should be looking like this. All right. Now for the Z fighting, what you do is you go right here and you kind of just hold left click and hold right click and barely shrink it in. Not too much, but also enough to stop the Z fighting. Like it's so tiny and so microscopic that you can't even notice the size difference. Now you might see the Z fighting on top. So what you would do is you would do the same thing. Now, be careful on this because right now we're not going to worry about that. Whenever you have it turned and you bring it outwards, it's going to make a diamond shape if you do not bring down the other thing like that. So just be careful on that because it can sometimes just be really confusing. But we're not going to worry about that right now. What we do is now the next thing we're going to get the chisel, not the chisel, the pillar quartz. All right, you grab that and I guess you could keep it the same, this size, but I mean, this would be way too big. So the size we're going to want to keep it is we're going to bring it down to about, let me look, about do 0.250 on this. And then about let's do about 0.25 all around. So it's just kind of like a quarter of a block. Now you can make it smaller if you want. And then we're going to put it on just about a 14-degree angle. All right. So, and then you want to make sure it's even within the lines. Now to make it easier on you, you can look at the white blocks and kind of get them all to be even together. So it's just kind of, it's nice and yeah. Now real quick, I'm going to make it smaller. So I'm going to bring it down to 0.188 all around. So it's not too bulky. So now this is so far going to be the lampshade. And you kind of want it looking like this so far. Alright, now the last block we're going to grab the frog light, the yellow frog light. Now you can do whatever color you want. I don't want to stop your creativity. Now we're going to bring it to there. Now you don't want to make this smaller than the lampshade. So I'm going to put it about like 0.125. Now you can do that all the way around, or you can make the light part of it kind of a bit different. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the angle of it is 12. Now you can do 12.50, kind of really whatever angle you like the most. Now to be better, just to be easier, I'm gonna put it on. I don't know what's not letting me put it on just exactly 10, but I think you understand. Now you do kind of like the same angle for this, for the lamp, the light part itself. And then you just kind of put it in there. Now, the angle might look a little strange, so if you need to, you can kind of fix it if you like. And then you just kind of bring it in there to about there. And then do about that. So right now, this is kind of what you should have. Let me turn off the gizmos so you're able to see. This is what you should have on your final product. Alright, let me turn it back on. And now for when you're grouping it, whatever block you kind of want to be like the item that you have in your hand. Like, let me show you whenever, like, this basically is a part of the axiom. Like the duck. The duck is for the beak, so it's orange. And then kind of they all just have their own specific block. Now, for this, I'm going to do the frog light because it's the light. So I'm going to group it, and because it's so small, I'm going to keep it on 1. So now, we have the lamp. Now you're able to middle click it with your mouse button. Now you're able to kind of put it really wherever you want. You're able to rotate it however you like, and then you're also able to transform it to kind of however you like. Now this gets a little bit daunting sometimes, but it shouldn't let you get discouraged on it because I mean, you can now make a big lamp. You can have a big lamp. So, that is the the wall lamp. Now, for the floor lamp, it's going to kind of do the same thing. I want you to, and I'll let you take a little bit of time. I'll let you pause the video. So then you're able to kind of do whatever you want real quick. Alrighty, I'm hoping you did it, and I'm believing you. I believe you did it good. So now, what I want you to grab for the floor lamp is kind of like the same bit of items, and I'm sorry I didn't show the polished blackstone until at the very beginning of it, but still. I want you to grab a slab. The display slab, of course. So, we bring it over here, and I want you to make it about 0.625, and then make the height about 0.375. So then you should have a little something like this. Like that. Alright. Now you can put it on things like how I did over here with the polished tuff, so it makes it easier for you to figure out where the lines are because it has lines down the middle. To not be as confusing. Alright, but let's get the fence post. And with this one, I want you to make it about 0.563 around, right? And then kind of even it in the middle. And boop. And then boop. Now it's in the middle. And then I want you to bring it about, let's do 1.750 and make sure you bring it up a bit. So it kind of is in line with the base of it. You can kind of make it as whatever height you like. Whatever height you find comfortable, use that height. Now, we're going to do different because we're not going to get you know what, let's do the lampshade. Why not? Grab the lamp, the next thing, the pillared quartz, and now you can bring it to the size of it currently is, it is 0.500 on all of them. And then you can bring it bigger, or you can make it longer. So for ours, we're gonna make it 0.750. Alright. Now for the lamp, you grab your little frog light, whatever color frog light you want, and then you kind of also put it in the middle. And because that's 0.500, it should be easy to put in the middle because then you'll see the Z flag. So what I want you to do is put it about 0.35. Now you don't have to put it all the way around because the height of it, you know what I mean? It's not really, you don't really have to worry about it. But for us, we're going to bring it down to 0.25. And then you bring it very close to the top. So it's like there's that little thin line. And then, ta-da, you have your little lamp. Now it's not the best little lamp, but it'll do. So for this, let's just say we want the lampshade or the pillar quartz as our block. We group it. Now because it's a bigger block, I want you to put it about like 2.25 and you group it nearby. So now you have your little lampshade. Your little standing lamp that now you can put wherever you want. Now if you want for the base, you can use the polished chiseled polished blackstone, but I mean that is about it for this video though. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned a lot about display entities. And I hope it made you more comfortable with wanting to work with them because I mean they're not a scary block. They're not gonna bite you. So, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll probably be making another one about this. If I ever learn any new things like or significant things or anything updates. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed and I will see you next time. Bye bye.